TruthSeekah and/or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and/or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark savage!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark sided stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the TruthSeekah podcast. I'm your host, TruthSeekah, and excited, delighted to be with you guys again today. We got an awesome show planned for you. We're going to be talking about spirituality, the paranormal, and getting into some interesting conversational pieces. Excited for you guys to join me here today. Want to say a quick thank you to everyone supporting my work via Patreon. I couldn't do this without you guys. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for believing in the vision, believing in the work, my music, the podcast, everything that I bring to the table. Thank you guys so much. You know who you are. Give a quick shout out to some of the latest patrons who have just come on board with the vision. Give a shout out to Mentaka. Thank you. Crystal Gan, Jill Trango, Zeely, Michelle Miller, and Elite are just a few of the patrons who have just come on board to support the show. So if you would like to support what I'm doing, head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There you can sign up for any level of giving and get access to some really cool stuff. You get access to my entire discography, which is 10 plus albums, all of my latest music that I'm recording right now. I'm working on music even today. Soon as it's done, it's uploaded to Patreon, and it'll be there for months ahead of time before it's available to the general public. So that's the best way to support independent creators. You also get access to my Thursday night School of the Mystic session, which we do. It's our hangout session, our community aspect to what we're building here, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff over there. So shout out to everybody holding us down in the chat right now. Adam Starseed Bay, what's going on, brother? He says 200 songs. Yep, I've reached the 200 song limit. I have written and recorded and been featured on over 200 songs now. All that is available at Patreon. Go check that stuff out. Really cool stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on today's guest. Today I'm speaking with Don Allison. Got an email probably about a month ago, and in the email, there was just one little phrase. It was a bunch of stuff about yourself, your credentials, what you bring to the table. But there was just one thing that said, "I met a ghost." And I was like, we gotta dig a little bit deeper into this truth here about meeting a ghost. You know what I'm saying? So Don, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Hey, pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So I guess we can start off before we get into I Met a Ghost and some of the different paranormal stuff which you're kind of in right now. You said you didn't see yourself headed that direction. Kind of give some people a little bit of a background about who you are and what you bring to the table.
Yeah. Well, I'm probably about the last person you would expect to do a book on the paranormal. I've been a journalist. Started out as a sports writer in the 1970s. I'm been a daily newspaper editor. I'm currently semi-retired and senior editor, but I've covered all kinds of things from murders to politics to feature stories. I write a weekly column, but no, I didn't see the paranormal coming. It came for me.
So was that about moving into a house that you didn't know was haunted? Is that how that kind of began?
That was the start of it. Yeah, my wife and I purchased an 1830s house. It was in really rough shape. It needed a lot of work. It has quite a local history. It was an Underground Railroad stop. But anyway, as I started working there, some odd things started happening. I mean, I heard footsteps when nobody was there. I would have radios turn on, change stations. You would sometimes have smells like tobacco smoke. I even heard some voices. And my first reaction was, "You got to be kidding me. This can't be happening. This isn't real." But the more it kept happening, the more I realized something is going on here and I need to start looking into it.
So where do we go from just having these little, eerie sounds and noises and smells and things like that to petitioning a ghost, trying to make contact? Where do you bridge that gap there?
Uh-huh. Well, I'll tell you, there was one thing that happened that just really cemented things for me. I'm working at the old house. We didn't have the power turned on. It's after dark. I'm cutting floorboards, and I'm listening to classic rock on the radio. 3 times in a row, when rather loud, rowdy songs came on, the radio turned off. And I finally just had enough. I spoke out loud, as crazy as it sounds. I says, "Look, leave my radio alone. I like this music. I want to listen to it. Don't mess with my radio." So a couple minutes later, a song, I remember this song expressly, was Elton John's "Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting." That song came on. The generator outside on the porch turned off. Now that, to me, is true intelligence and a bit of humor. And our activity does seem to have humor. That's when I started to do the research. Now, you asked about... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, where did the research take you?
Well, I started, looking into the past of the house, who lived there. And also, I was rather intrigued when the former resident of the house stopped by. My wife and I are working outside. He said, "This house is haunted." And my first thought was, okay, now I know where the reason for all the half-empty booze bottles we're finding hidden around the house. But it turned out the guy is pretty nice, and he told me some experiences he had that we actually experienced the exact same thing. So that gave some credence to it. I found out about the history, but the big bridge for me to meeting a ghost came on a trip to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I took my grandson there for the history. I'm also a Civil War historian. I've written books. And we're there, and I wanted to entertain him. I'd registered as a journalist with their marketing folks, and one of the things they offered us was a ghost investigation. So I'm thinking, this is pretty touristy. I'll say, yeah, Connor, would you like to do this? My grandson, yeah, it sounds pretty cool. So I call up. They agreed to take us out to a site called Sachs Bridge, which initially did not thrill me. It's a covered bridge. I'd seen it. I didn't think there was anything particularly interesting about it. But they said, "No, you'll like Sachs Bridge." So we go, we show up, we're set up with ghost hunting equipment, the whole works, and I'm expecting nothing from this. And it was to last 2 hours, and for about 1 minute and 58 seconds, it was pretty unremarkable. Not too much happened. Although I did learn a lot about the history of Sachs Bridge. It was basically one vast field hospital during and after the Battle of Gettysburg. The Confederate Army retreated over the bridge. The worst of the wounded, both Confederate and their Union prisoners, were left there. That I did not know. But anyway, at the end of the investigation, we finally have the bridge to ourselves. We're sitting there. We have what's called a spirit box or ghost box. It basically scans radio stations to give real life EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, things you can't hear with your ear, but will be picked up on electronic devices. We started getting answers to questions. How many people are here with us? 7, 8, 9. What year is it? 1863. These are some pretty intriguing answers. It started fading out again, so we're getting ready to leave. And then all of a sudden, we started getting some real clear answers. I thought, well, what would a Civil War soldier or person from 1863, what would they find interesting? I said, you like jokes? And I got a very clear yes. I said, oh, you like music? Of course. Almost a very loud voice, almost like, he's irritated by the question. My grandson came up with a great one. Can you play it for us? We got a very polite yes, sir. We started getting music, Civil War period music on guitar, and then what sounded like a mandolin or higher pitched string instrument.
Wow.
And this is fading in and out. The investigators like looking with their jaw dropped and eyes wide open. My thought is, how are they faking this? This has to be a hoax. And the music finally faded out after several minutes of this. I said, wow, you're good. He said, thank you. I said, can you play some more? Yes, we got another maybe 10 minutes of music. Then we started asking more questions. Where are you from? Couldn't really understand it. The answer, it was hard to decipher. So I started asking, rattling off states. When I said Ohio, we got a yes. And I said, oh, Connor and I are from Ohio, and we were carrying K2 electromagnetic meters, those that we could barely get a blip from. Both Connor's and mine went to the highest level and stayed there for several seconds. A little bit mind-blowing, but then we got an unsolicited captain. Like, wow, that's rather interesting. And we had some other answers that were rather intriguing, but when the investigators said, were you hurt? We got it kind of bothers me today, this blood-curdling scream, a male scream of like sheer anguish, and then a woman crying. That kind of took the wind out of our sails. Some other people would come on the bridge, so we left. I'm peppering this poor young woman with questions, trying to figure out how they pulled this one over on us. She says, no, this was a real thing. And she seemed very sincere. So later on when we got home, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to figure out how they pulled this hoax. And I talked to people in the field, people who've done investigation with the spirit box, and I got the same answer over and over again. No, you cannot broadcast this. This was not a hoax. Whatever you heard was something going on. Also, the captain had given us a name. Couldn't make it out totally, but it was very clear, 3 syllables, the middle on, and it sounded like an S at the end. And he repeated it numerous times. It's like on and then the S. Well, I thought, okay, did any Ohio captains die at Gettysburg? And I looked into it. Yes, there were 7 of them who were killed or mortally wounded. Among them was one, his name was Alan Briggs. He was wounded on day 1, captured by the Confederates, died on July 3rd, third day of the battle. As a Confederate prisoner, he may well have died at Sachs Bridge. That really got my attention. That's where the title for the book and the biggest impetus for writing the book came from.
I gotta ask, so that the house that you guys were in, right? You were having these paranormal encounters and stuff. Was this the same ghost, or was the same people around there? Did they seek you out? Are these 2 totally different experiences altogether?
These were were totally different. My grandson has had paranormal experiences at the house. Now, this was a soldier from Ohio, but not from our area. We have some suspicions as to who the spirits of the house might be, but we're not sure. The person who lived there before us at the house thought one of the spirits was Uncle Bill. He's a gentleman who grew up there, who died in the house in the 1940s. We do often hear heavy, nail-sounding footsteps. Other people have seen the apparition of a young girl. We have not seen her, my wife and I, but several others have. And people unrelated who would have no way of knowing what the others saw have described the same thing.
Communicating with the spirit of the captain and the soldiers and things, was this a one-time event, or was you guys taking expeditions back to this and trying to recreate these experiences?
I have been back to Sachs Bridge I purchased a spirit box. I was intrigued by it. I've done a lot of research into it. I have not been able to make contact again with this particular spirit. At Sachs Bridge, I had a humorous incident. I actually gave a talk there to people, interested in hearing it. And when I was done, I was demonstrating the spirit box. There was a young woman there who told me she used to be an investigator. And she said, "Ask if you like whiskey." And I thought, that's rather odd. She said, "You'll get an answer." So I did. I said, "Do you like whiskey?" And I got a very clear, "Oh man, yeah," on the spirit box, which I just shook my head. That's kind of incredible.
Now, after these initial encounters, was you seeing more activity at home? Do other spirits know that you're open? Was you seeing more contact after that?
Actually, I have found that I haven't had more activity at the house. Actually, we find that what seems to stir activity at the house is our renovation work. Although we'll get things here and there when we're doing work is when it's very active. However, I do think at Gettysburg, when I have opened myself, I've had some experiences that I think there is a degree of spirit sensing or knowing.
Yeah.
I think if you're open to these things, you can sort of train yourself or maybe make better use of your inherent abilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like as far as like your ESP and the different psychic phenomenon, being able to sense when something's close versus actually having to have the box. I mean, I think everything is kind of useful as a tool, but I think once you know that it's real, once you know that it exists, once you have those type of encounters, then everything else just kind of opens up. Like you said, you're able to kind of feel those same feelings that you felt with the spirit box, even without it being in different places. That they talk about that cool air going down the back of your neck, getting chills out of nowhere, feeling like somebody's calling your name or somebody's watching you or something like that, right?
Very much so. And especially with the house, I've kind of developed a sense I can feel. Like I say, the cool air, the sense, the energy is maybe a good way to describe it. I feel a change in the energy, and often that accompanies things happening. I've heard my name mentioned. I've heard muffled conversations. I've been touched. Feels just like being touched by a person, only no one's there.
Some states require that if somebody died in the house or the house is deemed haunted, that they have to actually tell you that in the lease, and if they don't, it's actually against the law to sell a house if they don't tell you that. There was none of that going on whenever you guys bought the house.
Actually, we had heard rumors in between when we made our offer and when the closing took place, and we had gotten to know the owner. He's a friend of ours. He still farms land around the area. He told us that there are rumors of it being haunted. He said he said he grew up there and never had experiences, but he said his grandfather's house down the road he had experiences. So, but yeah, Ohio is, I don't think is a state that disclosure is required, but many states do have.
Yeah.
But no, there was no effort to hide anything. We went in with our eyes wide open.
How does this shape your view of the afterlife as far as where spirits go, if it's an actual spirit, or some people believe that when something traumatic happens, obviously a war is very traumatic, that it leaves like like some type of impression or recording of the feelings, emotions of their last moments and things like that. How does this change the way that you view the other side and where we go when we pass on?
There are a lot of theories, and I think really science is behind it, be it metaphysics, quantum physics. There's a lot of pretty cool research out there, but there are indications that our energy, our mind does survive death of the body. They don't even know where consciousness is based. Is it in the mind, or is the mind simply a receptor to a consciousness that is, in the atmosphere? There are a lot of things we don't know, and that really leaves me open. I have had things happen that to me, I can't see any answer beyond a consciousness surviving or somebody living being able to communicate their thoughts to you. But when you're getting answers from someone who gives you a name and a year, this happens at the place where they likely died, that's hard to discredit.
What is
I'm very, very open, and I'm very curious. I'm hoping that there are more answers out
what do you think this particular spirit had to say? Was there a message? Is there like unresolved issues that they're open for contact? Did you disturb them? What do you think is like the message there that they have to share?
The message for me that I seem to have gotten many times is that people want their stories told and don't want to be forgotten. This predates this particular thing I'll share with you, predates any of my involvement with the paranormal, but I wrote a book called Hell on Belle Isle based on letters and diaries of a Civil War soldier from my area. And I kept having odd things come up that were too much to be coincidence. Finding a diary, finding the soldier's picture in an antique shop just out of the blue, that I thought this soldier wanted his story told. I think Malin Briggs is a good example. I had the closest thing I've had in my life to a psychic experience at two different places. It turned out the 107th Ohio Regiment fought at Gettysburg. They had horrible experiences 2 days in a row. They were German. They were treated badly because they were German, and I feel that they want their story told. As it turns out, part of that regiment was from my home county. I had no clue about it. So that to me is it. I think they want their story told, at least in keep.
I mean, that's the thing. Whenever it starts, like, you start connecting the dots in other areas of life. Like, you find a picture, you find an address, and then all of these different things, what we like to call synchronicities, are happening over and over, these different confirmations. It gets a little bizarre. It gets into, it almost feels like you're being contacted. Not that you're the one doing the contacted, but something was drawing you in for a reason to get that story out, or to make contact, or to show you something.
I think that's very much, at least in my case, that's my experience. I have not sought these things out. They have sought me out.
That's the thing too. So, like you said, that you were probably one of the last people to write a paranormal book that you thought, right? And I guess seemingly you're one of the best people to write it. So when you was a kid, you didn't have any type of fascination with the occult, horror movies, dead, not trying to contact seances or nothing like that. Like, this was like one and done for you, right?
That's what I thought it would be. It turns out that now I'm pretty well hooked. I'm doing a follow-up book, and I'm very much interested in what more can be found.
This is the interesting field, right? And there's so many people in there, and some of the stuff can be even slippery, right? Where, you know, they want you to kind of perform on a dime or whatever, something that you can actually recreate. Obviously, if you have a spirit box, and there's all types of things that people are bringing to the table, tools that they're using to try to recreate these encounters and things. So, what have you seen in like this field as far as people being acceptive of your message, people calling?
Sorry, I lost you.
Do you have any naysayers? Do people try to call BS? Do they want proof? You know, things like that.
I thought there'd be a lot more of that. I found that probably 99% of people are at least politely open to the idea. I've had some occasionally nasty people just, no, this can't be, and make smart remarks, and I just deal with it. It's like, you know, hey, I don't have the answers, but these things are real, and I guess my main message is, yeah, be open, and if it happens to you, don't be frightened, don't think you're crazy, be open to it.
So was there fear there for you? I mean, if you're walking through your house at night by yourself or something, and then you feel like something's watching you, then something touches you or calls your name, I mean, that could be a little scary. Was there a fear that you had to get over, or was you just open the whole time?
I was like more almost amused and kind of incredulous. I've been frightened once, and that's when I came out to the house to do some work, and I heard what sounded like someone with a giant hammer banging things in the basement. I thought someone had broken in. I actually grabbed a crowbar and ran down the stairs. Whether that was smart or not, that was my reaction. I get down to the basement, and immediately is silence. Nothing was there. And I wasn't afraid of the paranormal. I was afraid of that was a human.
The living. Yeah, I heard that.
And luckily, my wife feels the same way. She's very open. She's not bothered by it. The vibes of the house are very good.
Yeah, that changes everything. What type of spirit that's there, right? If it was like a poltergeist or something trying to play tricks on you, or something trying to harm you. I mean, people have talked about those cases and stuff as well, but you haven't experienced any of the scratches or any waking up in the middle of the night and the shadow figures and things hovering over your bed or nothing like that.
No, we've seen shadows. We've seen shadow figures at times, but no, there are tricks, things that do come up missing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously done not by a person. Generally, they come back in a different place. Some things never return.
Yeah.
That's the worst of it.
All right, so moving forward with this, you said you're going to be writing another book. Or is there going to be more exploration that you're doing that you're focused on right now, or is it going to be like a continuation of the first one, or is it something totally different?
Well, it's going to be very similar. I try to write it much like I write my newspaper column, from a personal point of view, but back it up with stats. I've talked to a lot of people in the field. I've looked into some of the science behind things. So it is a continuation, but it is really a sharing of things I've discovered since the first book came out.
And so, was there any other encounters that you've had besides the ones at home and then right there on the battlefield?
I've had, a number that I'll be sharing in the new book. The 107th Ohio encounter is rather mind-blowing to me. On Barlow's Knoll, the first day's fight at Gettysburg with the spirit box, I communicated with a man who gave me his name as Christopher. And there's a lot more detail, but in a nutshell, he said he was hit in the arm. And I tried to figure out where Christopher was from. I couldn't, again, understand the state. I kept rattling off northern states, and no answer. My friend who was with me said, well, this area was overrun by a Georgia brigade. Maybe he's from Georgia. I said, are you from Georgia, Christopher? And he said very testily, I am, and then wouldn't answer any more questions. That's one of the things I'll be talking about, in the new book.
And that was done with the spirit box as well?
That's correct. I'm glad I had a friend with me to verify that this indeed happened.
Are you trying to record these at all?
That can be difficult. I've been looking into doing this. I was just kind of trying it out, really, and now I've been in contact with people who are experts in this machine, and yes, I'll be setting it up to record these and definitely doing more in that area.
Definitely. Well, Don, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story. If people want to check out the book and follow your work, you want to give them the websites and links where they can do that?
You betcha. The best link would be www.imetaghost.com. Also www.fatedbanner.com. And of course, the book I Met a Ghost at Gettysburg is widely available, in other sources as well.
All right, Don. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll have to do it again soon whenever that next book comes out. Let me know.
I'll have to do that. Thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it.
All right, Don. Thank you so much. Don Allison, ladies and gentlemen. I met a ghost. Some of you are thinking, I met a ghost too. His name's the Holy Ghost. We don't play with no ghosts over here, right? Interesting when it comes to the afterlife, when it comes to ghosts and spirits and like what really is out there. Like, what can you contact? Should you contact it? Like, is it piquing your interest? Like, it gets really squirrely. It's not black and white, and even, he's in it, and he's actually written a book. And at the end of the day, he obviously doesn't know what's going on. What is it? As I'm reading the chat here, a lot of people are talking about demonic encounters. We're talking about shadow beings and shadow people, which we've been talking about a lot lately, of these encounters where you wake up and there is a spirit in your room, or there is something on top of you in the middle of the night. These type of encounters that people are having. It could be scary. It could be fear. People are talking about moving past the fear. It's like the biggest obstacle. And once you do that, then you're opened up for new opportunities and communication. It's really weird is the fact that once you have a belief, or you have something that you are pursuing, the universe works in such a way that it will back up your belief. I like to get into the scriptures when it comes to this. There's a Bible scripture. It's really good, man. It says that the promises of God are yes and amen. Essentially, whatever you put out there, God, the universe, is saying yes and amen. Okay. Poverty, yes, amen. That's what you want. That's what you're repeating. Whatever you're looking for, whatever you're creating, it's going to come back to you. The law of seed time and harvest, sowing and reaping, karma, if you will, whatever you're looking for, wherever your intention goes, energy flows, and you create that. So when it comes to the spirit realm, when it comes to ghost, when it comes to demons, when it comes to anything, but especially the spirit realm, the things that we're trying to figure out if it's real. God, is it real? Jesus, is Jesus real? Like, whatever the case is, demons, fairies, the ghosts of the dead, the departed, are they real? Whatever you begin to look for, you find. And it's really weird when you get out there by yourself and you're moving through what seems to be uncharted territory, because unless you go out there and you do the field work, you may never see this. You may never see this. We're talking about UFOs, aliens, angels even. Are they real? Is it only just for a few select people to see? Or if you seek it, you will see it. If you believe it, you'll receive it and see it, right? Don't we apply this to everything else in life? It's the same way when it comes to this stuff. Elemental spirits. There's people who talk about communing with fairies and imps and trolls and spirits and things like that. And they're able to see them. They've trained their eye to see them. There's all types of stuff going on that we can't see with our physical eyes. We have to have a trained spiritual eye, a single eye, the third eye. that if we can see what's going on around us right now, even as I'm sitting in this room, there's all types of frequencies going around. There's Wi-Fi signals, there's cell phone signals, all kinds of stuff. Your body is affected by it, right? It's messing with you. It messes with your etheric field. It messes with all types of stuff going on with your body, right? But you can't see it, but we know it's there. It's the same way in the spirit realm. There's all of these different entities, levels, different dimensions, levels of density, lower level entities, what we would call demons or unclean spirits. Then there's higher vibrational frequencies as well. The angelic beings, the masters, the teachers that exist at a higher vibrational frequency than any of the demons or the dark beings, which I believe are here for a reason, right? We don't just negate the demons. We don't negate the things that happen to us that we don't like. You know what I'm saying? Because those things are just as important as the beautiful encounters that we've had with angelic beings or ETs or whatever the case is. Your teachers, ascended masters, Jesus, right? Being an ascended master himself. But even we could break it down on a even smaller level, like a microscopic level, like all of the different little creatures, man, these little things that are on us, man. There's bacteria, there's all types of little, they look like creatures. I mean, you can look them up. They fight each other. They're even down into your bloodstream, your blood cells, fighting viruses and bacteria that are on you, that are in you. The food that you eat, your gut bacteria, and it produces the way that you feel for about the next 6 months, so that you are what you eat. Not only that, but you are what you ate. Bugs, bacteria, microbes, all of this stuff. These things are living on us, man. When we understand life, when we understand when you bathe and you use antibacterial soap, you're killing these little guys. You're destroying them, right? Killing them. Talking about honoring life, it gets really interesting when we get into the vegetarian thing and vegan thing, to honor all life. But when you sneeze, all of this stuff, man, the universe is beaming with life on many levels. And so when it comes to the microscopic ones, we can't see them unless we have a trained eye. In this case, the trained eye would be a microscope, and you can actually see them. It's almost a mirror image of spiritual warfare, of believing that these entities or these levels or these things, unclean spirits, ghosts, goblins, whatever, are fighting and doing war in the heavenly realms in the same room that we're in, right? It's happening. It's taking place on your body. Like, your body is the battlefield, and you can see them. You can see them if you have the right eye being the microscope. You can see these little bugs and these little, some of them are cute. Some of them look like little bears and stuff, and they have special abilities, and they could split open, and they fight. They do war over you, man. When we look into the ancients believed that these were the demons. They believed that any infirmity, a spirit of infirmity, any sickness, was some type of what we would call demonic entity. And they had prayers, they had convocations that rebuked and banished these so-called demons, these dragons that they would talk about, that were living in us and on us, and they would try to cleanse themselves through fasting to get that stuff out of your body. I mean, the scriptures even talk about that some of these demons only come out through prayer and fasting. That when you fast, you flush all of those toxins and everything out of your body. I mean, it's crazy when it comes to the Bible and some of the other ancient texts, when it comes to breaking down the dragons, the serpents that take over the body and stuff, man. The great dragon. Do the research on that. It's very interesting when it comes to reading some of these medieval prayers and convocations against the dragons that live within our body and on our body. It's very similar to what we would call spiritual warfare, and having these unseen entities feeding off of us, Like that bacteria feeds off of your body, feeds off of the dead flesh, all kinds of stuff, right? Feeds off of you. Spiritually, it's said that these other entities, the unclean spirits, the things that you're entertaining, that they're feeding off of you as well. They're feeding off of your auric field, making people depressed, not have any energy, cleansing, things like that. Like, there's ways to get rid of them. Very similar, looking at the two and comparing them. Like I said, whatever you're looking for, like if you can get into that and go find it, and there's all types of research on all of the stuff that I just mentioned. But whatever you're looking for, you're going to find. I've seen a lot of stuff, man. I've been privy to see a lot of stuff. I'm not an expert on any of it. I'm not the end authority on any of it, but I know that things out there exist. I know that things above us exist on a higher, beautiful vibrational frequency. I know that there's lower level entities. I believe in demonic possession. I believe that you can open up doors, and you have to be careful trying to contact entities and trying to deal with ghosts and trying to see that kind of stuff. Sometimes you can bite off more than you can chew, and thank God for Jesus, right? I mean, that's just my story in general, opening up doors that I couldn't close, that only Christ could close. And I did that, and I lived to tell about it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people go mad after having those encounters, and I definitely was headed down that road. But you have to be careful, man. You have to use wisdom. There's scriptures, man. When it comes to the Bible, we're talking about entertaining spirits unaware. We're talking about looking at Saul, who contacted the spirit of Samuel, and he went to a witch, the witch of Endor, I think it was called, and he needed some wisdom, and he summoned up the spirit of Samuel, and he spoke with his spirit. A lot of people, a lot of religious circles, they have different takes on that, and some people who don't, some people say it was a demon and stuff like that, but the scripture says that it was the spirit of Samuel, right? That's who he spoke with. So we have a lot of different cases in the Bible. Job chapter 4. Job, I'm gonna read that. Let me pull this up right quick, and I'm gonna read this to you guys. This is a really good one. When it comes to spirits and angels and demons and dealing with the other side of actually understanding what they are, right? I'm going to scroll down to, here we go. All right, of understanding what spirits are, what angels are. The word angel is translated messenger. Like, it even calls people in the Bible angels. A lot of times when it talks about entertaining angels unaware, it's talking about messengers. And not every case is it talking about a spirit or an entity or whatever the case is. So you have to actually break down the Greek and the Hebrew and see what they're talking about with all this, with everything, really. But let's start here. This is Job 4:11. Let's start with 12. This is deep because this is explaining Job waking up in the middle of the night and seeing what we would call a ghost or a spirit, seeing it in a hallway, and all of the tingling sensations, everything that this brother just described a while ago, Job's going to talk about that. Okay, Job 4:12. Now a thing was secretly brought to me, and mine ear received a little thereof. In the thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, it says fear came upon me. We're talking about being scared. Fear and trembling, which made all my bones to shake in the middle of the night. And it says, verse 15, then a spirit passed before my face, and the hair of my flesh stood up. What is the hair of my flesh? It's like, when you get those chills and all of your hairs stand up. It's just what he's explaining. 16, it stood still, but I could not discern the form thereof. An image was before mine eyes. There was silence, and I heard a voice saying, Shall mortal man be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his maker? This is the message. So these angels, these spirits, they come and they bring messages. They're messengers of God. It's very interesting. So he's laying in bed, looking, and he sees the shadow. It says, fear is upon him. He's scared, right? If you wake up and you've seen something in your room, wouldn't you be scared in the middle of the night? Then a spirit passed before my face. The hair of my flesh stood up. It stood still, but I could not discern the form thereof. This is explaining a spirit which is there. A lot of times, these messengers, when you're able to see them, sometimes you don't see them at all. But when you make contact with them, when you see what they look like, a lot of time they just look like smoke. They look like a billow of smoke. They could be any color. It could be gray smoke. So he's seen it and he couldn't see the form thereof because it was moving. The image was before my eyes. There was silence. Then he heard a voice, whether it was audible or that inner voice. This spirit brought forth a message to Job. Really interesting scripture. And there's so many more about these different encounters, whether they're angelic, whether they're dealing with ghosts, whether they're dealing with spirits. See, understanding the spirit realm, you have to know that there's all types of spirits out there. It's not just angels and demons who are fighting and warring over you or whatever. There's all types of spirits, man. There's all types of vibrations. There's energy. You have to think in the form of energy. You have to think in the form of movement, of everything is moving, everything is vibrating. That's when it comes to spirits. There's all types of neutral spirits, right? They're just there. They just exist. They just govern different parts of the earth, different parts of the atmosphere, different types of angelic beings. And if you're into that and you want to figure out how it works, you can. You can study it. There's, man, everybody likes to, read all these books and stuff. I go back to those holy books, man, all the ancient ones, especially the ones that were taken out of the Bible, right? Like that had some type of information that was a little bit too deep, so they took it out. And as you go into these other books, the funny thing is they go into a lot more detail on the spirit realm. They go into a lot more detail when it comes to these demons and how they interact with humanity. The Recognitions of Clement is a really good book. I think Clement was a disciple of Barnabas, and he walked with Barnabas for some time, and he has all of these crazy stories, man, of where they were dealing with demons and how they get access to your body and how they get rid of them and things like that. And there's a bunch of stuff. Obviously, Enoch, a lot of people start off actually, going into the book of Enoch. That's the starting place for a lot of people. You find out they're just pulling from this stuff, and it's mentioned of in the Bible. So many people, like when it comes to these books, they say, well, they were taken out for a reason. Those books were removed for a reason. Yeah, they definitely were removed for a reason. Some people blame it on God. Well, if God wanted those books to be in there, he would have put them in there, that type of thinking. But understand that, like, those books are mentioned of in the Bible. Like, there's like 20 or 30 that I know that are mentioned of in the Bible that nobody knows where they are, the majority of them. They're books from different prophets that we've never heard of, mentioned of in the Bible, quoted. A lot of the books can be found. The book of Jasher is mentioned, the book of Enoch, the book of Jubilees, the Wars of the Israelites. There's a bunch of books, and it gets into these other weird books like as it is written in the book of Shemaiah the prophet. Who is Shemaiah the prophet? Never heard of him, right? But it's written of in the Bible. Like, you just read over it and gaze by. Hold on. Who is he and what was in his book? Yeah, I want to know these things. As it is written in the book of Edu the prophet. Like, these type of things. This is the type of stuff that kind of, you know what I'm saying, gets my my brain working a little bit, wanting to search. Quoting the book of Enoch. Okay, well, what's in Enoch? Let's see why they took it out. And you find out that it's talking about all of these spirits that are still being worshipped on the earth by the rulers. It talks about the kings and the rulers of the earth making pacts with demons, making pacts with spirits to gain power, influence, and renown in the earth. Oh, that was taken out. You think? Who took it out? Do you think that the rulers of the earth took it out because it exposes who they were worshiping? And other books that tell you how to overcome darkness and overcome their dictatorship in the earth and how to be clean from that, and those were removed. Yeah. God wanted those out of there. Yeah, right. Understand that there's some really deep stuff going on, man. And times are getting really interesting too when it comes to free speech, man. We look at the things like there's certain titles that I pick, and I try to be careful with it. Like if I name an episode a certain title and it uses a word that YouTube doesn't like, it'll demonetize it. You know, I don't even know what all these words are. They don't like the word paranormal, obviously. That one's kind of been demonetized on my channel if I use that word. And even if you do name it right, if you talk about certain things, like you can download your script after any YouTube video. You can go and download the entire script. So it runs through the algorithms, and they'll demonetize your channel or give you a strike for talking about certain things on YouTube. A lot of people are going through that right now. They get to pick and choose what they want to show people. They get to pick and choose the narrative, right? What you can and can't talk about. It's in the back of my head, man. It's like you have to be careful. You have to. They want you to play by their rules, right? They're creating these rules, and we look at Alex Jones, man. They just pulled Alex Jones, all of his stuff. Like we knew that he was getting strikes on YouTube or whatever. They pulled Alex Jones and InfoWars off of everything. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. He's done. They pulled everything. Now, obviously, I don't vouch for Alex Jones and what, you know, he takes it way too far. It's entertainment. But when it gets into a lot of these crazy conspiracy theories and stuff that they're calling, that stuff is dangerous, man. That stuff is harmful. I mean, people will believe anything. People will believe anything. It's crazy. And so you have somebody out there who's charismatic. Alex Jones has gotten more charismatic, more animated, right? Freaking out, screaming, you know, beating his chest, growling in the microphone, like all this these crazy antics that were essentially helping his ratings too. And so he was speaking for a large people group. A lot of right-wing conservatives loved his stuff, and there was things where he would talk about conspiracies, and he's these Sandy Hook's hoax and things. And I'm probably going to get demonetized on this video for even saying that word, right? So this is the crazy thing. What Alex Jones should have did or should do is take the last little bit of ad revenue, whatever he has, and create another platform. Like, I think that he has enough money, not only him, but other agencies out there who are going to be targeted, who are going to have their voice silenced. I think he should have created a different platform. There's other people trying to do it. Jimmy Church has started to do it with On Stellar, which is a decent platform that they're building up right now, trying to find an alternative to Facebook and all of this stuff. On Stellar is a pretty good platform. You have Minds.com, you have Steam It, all of these different ways for people to kind of make money off of their product and kind of make a living doing what they love, creating content. Because, like, man, you could wake up and that channel can be pulled. You could wake up and that channel's gone. So everything that you've been building, working for, can be pulled like that. And you try to send emails, there's nobody for you to talk to get it reinstated. All of that stuff. I mean, it happened to a friend of mine, Vinny Eastwood, right? He freaked out, man. That was his life work. He was paying his bills with that YouTube ad revenue, getting a lot of views, able to pay for his bills, right? He wakes up one morning, his stuff is pulled. Somebody started reporting all of his stuff. They pulled it. He had to go. He was trying to petition it, getting people to sign petitions, all of that kind of stuff. And eventually, after talking to some higher ups, somehow Vinny Eastwood got his channel reinstated after I think 2 months, but that was 2 months of revenue that he lost, right? Happened to me. I got pulled, right? It happens, man. So trying to maneuver in this system, trying to keep your head above water, trying to play by their rules, but then not be afraid to speak on things. Like, you have to consciously think about this stuff, right? They will mute you, they will pull your platform, all of that stuff. And you have a lot to risk when, once your platform gets big, right? It's a gamble. So it's like, do I talk about the Alex Jones conspiracy? Do we talk about YouTube demonetization? Do we talk about this stuff? Because they can flag it. They really can. Sucks, man. So I really think I really people who are trying to start other platforms, people who are trying to, the Jimmy Churches who are doing the On Stellars and all of this kind of stuff. I try to support that stuff, man. I have an account on there. I have an account on all of those sites, man, and just seeing, which ones I like the best or whatever. But when it comes down to it, man, you got to support these people because they, it's going down. They're deleting all of that stuff. So that's why I will say, if you appreciate my podcast and what I'm bringing to the table, that's why Patreon helps so much, because like the majority of my videos get demonetized by the title or stuff we're talking about. Even paranormal stuff, like they don't even want to like monetize that. That's a huge industry, right? The paranormal, they're trying to demonetize that. They don't want to put ads on it. So yeah, Patreon's a great way to support independent media, independent creators. So definitely that link is in the descriptions here. If you'd like to sign up for any level of giving, would be awesome. Patreon's really cool. And I will say too, subscribe to my podcast via iTunes and Spotify and all that stuff. They've been really lax when it comes to that kind of stuff. So iTunes has been good. Subscribe there. That link is in the description as well. Just type in TruthSeekah on any of that stuff and it'll come up. So definitely support the stuff that you believe in. I'm trying to look through these comments here. You guys are going off. We're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, on a lot of stuff actually. There's a whole list of Periscope, and we're on Twitch. We're on all of this stuff. So it's really interesting. So just trying to keep everything organized. I'm just trying it out just to see how it works. So shout out to everybody holding us down in the chat rooms, everybody holding us down in Discord, doing that kind of stuff. I would like to say that I do have a concert coming up on August the 18th in Saucier, Mississippi. I'm going to be performing there with a couple other artists. Make sure you check that information out. It's on the website and it's on all my social media. So check that out. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Talking about Ghost, talking about all this stuff. Gio says that Alex Jones gives 80% truth. It's the other 20% that matters that he doesn't say. Yeah. He gives a lot of truth, but he gives a lot of false stuff too. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. A lot of people are looking for people to follow. They're looking for leaders, right? Alex Jones, like, people are like looking for someone to speak for them instead of understanding that they have their own voice and not being afraid to speak about the things that they believe in. You look for an Alex Jones or a TruthSeekah or whoever. You have to like actively, like keep that off of me, like being your spokesman or whatever the case is. Like, you got to understand that you have the power, man, that you have the voice, that you have the authority. It's not about following the best charismatic leader. I mean, if you want that, you go to majority of the churches these days. They'll tell you what you want to hear. There's a church out there that for every belief system. If you don't like this, if you don't like that. I mean, I used to go to a church that catered to bikers and people with purple hair and mohawks, you know. And other churches that if you believe this, there's a church for that. If you want to alter those beliefs a little bit, there's another church probably next door, like right in the same shopping center. You know what I'm saying? What has been deemed storefront abominations by some of the big time pastors. They don't like those little churches that pop up. It's crazy. Cray. Binary Watcher says, yes, I admit I'm a big gamer, dude. I stream on Twitch. You should repent. Don't do that. It's not good. Are you you're on that Mech Wars, aren't you? You're trying to get me to play Mech Wars with you. I'm not playing Mech Wars, bro. I'm not playing that. But if you're consistent, man, whatever you want. I mean, there's people making a lot of money on Twitch, though, right? I mean, there's kids, like 13-year-olds, man, 11-year-olds making hundreds of thousands a year, if not millions. Little kids. They're being consistent, right? They show up every day, every 5 hours, whatever the case is. They're doing it. So, you know, whatever you want to build, you got to be consistent. And it could be successful. You got to put hours into it. You got to mold it. You got to craft it. You got to breathe the breath of life into it. Whatever you want to bring to the table, you can do it. That's between you and God, whatever that is. If it's a podcast, if it's a gaming channel, I'm going to continue to say it. I've been saying it. The problem with a lot of people who are very creative is that you have a lot of ideas. You have too many ideas. The problem is that every one of those ideas are really good and they could work. So you start one thing and you do it for a week and you move on to the next idea. Or you get bored with the first one. You do that for a month. Figure something out. You do that for 2 months, 3 months. You go back to the first thing. Man, I can't believe I forgot about that. You go back to it. And you just keep coming up with all of these great ideas that could work. Any of them could work if you stuck with it and seen it through. That's something that creative people struggle with. I struggle with. But as far as walking in consistency and showing up daily, when you don't want to show up, when you don't feel like showing up, you show up regardless. Whatever it is that you're creating, that you're building, if you don't show up, then it's not going to grow. If you don't believe in it, how are you going to get other people to believe in your vision? Right? It's part of it, being consistent. And so, man, I struggle with it. There's so many creative things that I can do, that I want to do, that I can name them, I could spread them out. Any of them could take off. Very creative. Ideas. All kinds of stuff. You guys are just like that. So you start something for a week and you give up. You do it. Some of y'all hang in there 4 or 5 months. You know, then you go to something else. MLM. It's crazy. Multi-level marketing. A lot of people are jumping on that. A lot of it's good. But what's the best thing for you? Like, there's people who are into Travita. I had a friend of mine try to get me into Travita, and I started with Travita. Like, there's some early podcasts about 2 years ago, where I was giving links to join my Travita, the different health products and stuff, right? I didn't stick with it. Didn't like it. Essential oils. People do essential oils. Some people are really successful at it. Some people still trying to figure out how it works and all of this kind of stuff. All types of MLM. I've seen my friends, man. I see my friends get on here, and every week it's a new MLM. They're begging people to join. We used to call them pyramid schemes, but it works if you stick with it, though. So it's not a pyramid scheme. It still is a pyramid. Like, you're getting paid off of all these other people. You get to sign up and send you money, but you see people jump from one to another, to another, to another. I got friends that are doing it. It's crazy. I've done it, right? Any of those, you know, a year goes by, 2 years, and you done been with 7 MLMs. I'm like, bro, you would have picked one of those and just been consistent with one of them. It gets boring, or I run into a wall, or I found this out, or whatever. And you're still just jumping around. Like, none of them are going to work. You're going to be level 1 in all of this stuff. Right? But if you're consistent with it, it'll work out. Even when it's the fact when you want to give up, when you want to go on to something else, you got to stop yourself. No, stop it. Don't do that. I got friends who are like, they're just, man, I have so many creative friends, man, who have great ideas. Trust me. I'm not downing your ideas. They're great. Every single one of them. They're awesome. You could do it. But you don't. You won't. Pick one. Go with it. See what happens. See what happens when you walk it out, when you stick with it. It's going to pay off, because at the end of the day, hard work always pays off. At the end of the day, hard work always pays off. Seed time and harvest. If you're working, man, if you're putting something in that ground, you're putting a seed in that ground, if you're cultivating the land, getting it ready to receive that seed, plant the seed, then you water it. As it starts to grow, you continue to water it. There's weeds that come up around it. Jesus had parables about this stuff, man. Seeds, rocks are on top of it. You got to move this stuff out the way. You can't go on to another tree. I'm trying to cultivate 17 trees at once. Okay. Maybe that's a bad example, but it works, right? Cultivating the land. With that, I'm going to say thank you guys for the support. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Again, check out those links in the description there. You can support my work and keep me going. There's a bunch of t-shirts and music and all kinds of cool stuff that we're bringing to the table there. So check out that stuff. Concerts coming up. Continuing to expand. Also have a concert. We haven't really announced it, but I'll go ahead and talk about it. We have a concert coming up in Tallahassee, Florida. So I will be there very soon. We're going to be getting all the info ready for that. Yeah, making it happen. So with that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Thank you guys. Go to patreon.com/TruthSeekah to join my Patreon and get all kinds of cool perks and rewards. With that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. I love you guys, and we'll do it again Thursday. God bless.
Your way so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine, so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.